Good. What we got? Shoot.
Dave, so if going up against the Eagles wasn't challenging enough in their defense, you're also going up against a defensive coordinator in coaching the side that you're familiar with going back to Seattle. What can you tell us about him, and how much more of a chess match does that make it with the game within the game?
Well, good question. So Sean and I got to spend a good amount of time together, just bouncing off thoughts about structure of defense and different things like that. He's really sharp. Played against him in 21 in Chicago, came to Seattle, snow game. And he had some cool stuff for us. He had some great adjustments for, every situation. He just seemed like it was tailor-made. It didn't feel like he was just calling, plays out of a hat necessarily or just rotating calls. They're very specific, very intentional. So it'd be a good challenge.
So you normally have a lot of energy, and it's only Friday here, and it's just such a big game. Do you yourself even have to contain yourself, knowing you still have a couple of days until this big game?
I don't think of it like that. Honestly, every day is a gift, every day is a blessing. So I just wake up, I'm excited. I pop up, look at the clock. D&D says 1st and 10, got a new set of downs, and just kind of approach every day like that. And hopefully bring that to the building. That can be refreshing for guys who might be having a rough day or something like that. So just that kind of perspective, I don't think of the long haul or this is a short week or a long week. What do we need to get done? What's our preparation got to look like? Just as we take as long as we need to make sure we have the call sheet filled long enough to reach the floor.
How much does it help you to now have had 2 full games as a play caller? You can prepare for that for a decade or more, but the actual practice of going through it and figuring out the rhythm and the cadence of it, how much more comfortable are you with that now, 2 weeks in?
Yeah, it was great. So still we haven't had like a real normal week other than last week, because the week before we had a bunch of time to prepare for what we thought maybe the Vikings were going to do, really didn't know, and then still surprised us, Then you go to a normal week. So last week was kind of a litmus test, and there was a lot of just conversations with, I have a lot of veteran coaches on our staff, Tom Moore, Goody, Joe, guys who have been around, Skip Pete. So, just like end of the week coming to them saying, okay, how could we do this better from a game plan, time management standpoint? What was the communication like? And they gave me great feedback as far as like when to. So really like the scheduling of the week was really challenging, and then the play calling, of course, for me is just getting to know what Mike looks like on game day, for 2 weeks, and Chris, and Rashad and the O-line group, and of course everybody involved, just kind of feeling what guys actually went on game day, not just plays we've been practicing for camp.
You guys ran the ball better last week. This team is first against the run.
Yeah.
They're very deep on the front seven. So what kind of a challenge does that bring when you know you want to run it? But that's
yeah, the challenge is just, for me, is to maintain the discipline of stick with it. It will work. We've played some great fronts over the years in Seattle, and the games where even if it's a little bit hard early on, you just got to stick with the balance and rhythm of the way you call the plays, trying to be balanced on 1st and 10, second into different situations. Having the run-pass balance is really critical. So then it's really more about the type of runs, that we'll get into as far as the number of, so to speak. Because what they would love for you to do, just like the Niners, they'd love for you to do is just like, we just got to drop back and pass it. Well, that's a really good rush front, So just being disciplined to stick with it.
With Chase Edmonds going on IR, do you foresee more of a reliance on Rashad White, or is this a larger opportunity for Sean Tucker and possibly Keyshawn Vaughn as well?
Yeah, huge opportunity for those guys, right? Just a lot of carries to go around, 60 some odd runs in the first 2 games. So just being able to carry the load. I'm excited for Sneak. Guys really worked his tail off, all camp, and to get this opportunity is huge for him.
Your offense has started really efficient this year. You guys have been really good on 3rd down.
Appreciate it.
Why do you think that is so far? And then, going against the Eagles on Monday night, what do you think you're going to need to do well in order to keep that going?
I don't want to give too much, but just, the success of it is just having simple answers for potentially dangerous looks and fronts and things. And that's what we've had. You know, it's really just trying to be able to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands on a good play, not just get it out of his hands just 'cause. So Brad Idzik, he's our third down guru. So he's the guy that's kind of putting all those formations together, coming up with simple answers for Baker, making sure we communicated throughout. He's doing a fantastic job.
Is there anything about Baker, you know, you've always been very positive about Baker.
Yeah.
He's been here the whole offseason, but his numbers, like he's among the top 2, 3 in the NFL right now. I know it's only 2 games.
Yeah.
Is there anything that he's actually doing that's actually wowing you or surprising you?
I feel his experience. I feel that he's seen every defense that you could possibly run at this point in his career. He's seen every blitz. He's seen every pass concept. He's had 9 play callers. You know, so he's got such a wealth of knowledge in the pass game, answers for different things, different pressures. You know, playing in that division when he was in Cleveland for as long as he did, that was a gnarly division defensively. Like, they bring some – I know when we were in Seattle, whenever we would play any team from that division, it was like an all-out, just like, you know, no holds barred, gloves off, defensive pressures and things like that. So he's accustomed to it. He's cool. He regroups, and at the end of the day, he's trusting us. Like, you don't have to – we're not having to prove anything, right? Just complete the pass, you know. And so he did a fantastic job. I think we were 12 of 13 completions on third down last week, which gives you a chance to have success.
Do you think that experience has kind of played into his ability to avoid sacks and kind of scramble and fight for some extra yards? Because there were some great moments where he was getting past defenders, extending the play, and then the offense was able to get some points out of it.
I wouldn't say experience. I mean, just watch his college tape. I think that's always been him. So that's kind of a cool thing he brings to the game. So, and we're on the good side of it, you know, and his reactions and getting out of trouble.
Earlier you mentioned all the experience you have around you to support you as a play caller, but you know, just for you from your perspective, a few weeks into this, is there anything that's been surprising or anything that maybe you didn't expect about being a play caller that's come up?
A lot. Yeah, I can't really, you know, hone out everything. Let me say that right now for me. Everything is new. Situations come up in games. It's the first time I felt that and have to make that decision every week from preseason through the last 2 games. For me, every week is like this new thing. It's like, okay, what can I take away from this? You know, and a bunch of dudes have been coordinators. Jeff Castle, our quality control, has been a coordinator. You know, so I'll have him look at the call sheets like, does this make sense the way I'm organizing this? Is there a better way? John Van Dam was a coordinator at one point, you know. Joe, Goody, Tom, obviously. So, yeah, just a lot of different cool things. You know, for me, even the ones that I kind of screw up a little bit, like, it's still a great learning opportunity.
Mike Evans had a big day, and you know, shot play on top of that. Where do those come from? And I know it seems like Baker is really, you know, through all the reps in the offseason in tune with Mike and Chris. But like on Sunday, where did some of those big plays come from? Just dial them up, right coverage, right call.
Yeah, you know, just looking at how did Minnesota play us, what worked for them. Probably going to see a little bit of it this week. So just making sure we had answers for it, and then we did, and we had a couple that we just missed to Chris, you know. So really just kind of like, okay, if teams want to play this game, we're going to run the ball for 150 yards, and then we're going to put stress on the shell, you know. So if you want to just make it a cover 2 game, we're going to have answers. So that was great because then Bake took advantage of it. Yes, and we adjusted quicker this week than the week before. You know, it took a couple of drives. But then, honestly, just like really just how magnificent Mike is on game day makes those plays come to life. You know, 2 of them were, it could have been just a completion tackled right there, could have been an incomplete. He turns them into massive plays. And so just being able to see that, you know, front row seat to that has been fun.
What can you say about the offensive line and the job they've done with pass protection?
Fantastic. Yeah, and you know, this goes back to the philosophy of what we do. Not a lot of our plays are taking more than 2.7 seconds. So, you know, like yesterday in practice, it's like the rhythm just flows just like that. You know, the decisions are such that the ball should come out even to a check down in less than 3. So they feel more confident and comfortable to be able to set and be aggressive on these defensive linemen as they trust that Baker's going to make a quick decision, get the ball out, scramble, and do those things. But yeah, I'm very, very excited about what they're doing.
You guys don't always want to give us the names for things, but you've got a new look that's a 4x1, and you had the first down throw to Mike on the right side, but then you had kind of the screen to Rashad the second time. Is there a name for that, or?
Not really. Just we have tags for backs to go one way or the other, but it's not like a special, its own deal. Maybe it should be though. You got any suggestions? We got a 4x and a bunch. Could start with a B. Bling. That would be a good one, huh? Bling.
It's money if it works.
Bucs. I don't know. Bruce. That'd be good. Bruce package.
Just looking at the Eagles' defense, what makes them such a tough challenge to play against?
Yeah, the scheme is really good. The front is fantastic. Couple of veteran players back there in the secondary, who've seen it all. Same thing you talk about Baker. Those guys have seen it all. And then, and just the style of the whole team, and what Coach Sirianni has done there. They play hard. Talked about the Bears last week. They played hard, and so those are the biggest challenges right now that I feel.
Anything else? Good. Thanks, Dave.
Good.
Thanks, Dave.
All right. See y'all.
Thanks.
See you around.